Visit cardon.us to find a community near you.
Tip number 1, keep a list of all medications, dosages, and schedules to ensure your loved one is taking their medication correctly. Second, attend doctor's appointments with your loved one when you're able. And finally, stay organized by keeping forms, notes, and other important documents in one secure place. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access a library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Hamilton is coming. Tickets are on sale now for the Tony and Pulitzer Prize-winning musical, Hamilton, in Indianapolis at Old National Center from December 2nd to the 14th. Get tickets at BroadwayInIndianapolis.com.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled that you are with us. I'll tell you what, right off the bat, I want to give a huge thank you to producer Kevin, who's here in the studio. If you listen to WIBC during the week, you know Kevin well. He's the producer of the Kendall and Casey show. So here, this guy puts in a whole week of a full-time job and then is willing to come in and help us out. We're kind of between producers here, between Ethan Hatcher's show, Saturday Night on the Circle, and my show. We're kind of transitioning. And in the meantime, here, full-time producer during the week, not only works full-time, but has to put up with Rob Kendall for all those hours during the week. And, Kevin, you're willing to come in here and help us out during the Gun Guy Show, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And there is a lot to get into. I'll tell you what, and I posted a couple of different topics I am going to get into tonight, and a couple of things that I found fascinating. But right off the bat, I was looking at social media, and someone else posted a link to a Washington Post article. And right off the bat, I typically start rolling my eyes when it comes to the Washington Post. If there is a liberal publication out there in terms of print/internet, Washington Post is right up there in my mind with like MSNBC and any number of others. And as you might guess, they've not been particularly kind to those of us who choose to exercise our Second Amendment rights over the years. But I saw an article, and this was fascinating to me. They were talking about a crime rate in the United States. In particular, they were talking about the homicide rate in the United States. And they said this quote, they said the United States remains a violent nation, more so than many other high-income countries. But the rate of homicides has fallen dramatically for nearly 4 straight years. There were 5,965 fewer killings in 2024 than in 2021. Figures from the FBI show, which is absolutely true, by the way. You want to look this up, go to the Uniform Crime Report, it's called, from the FBI, and they've got great data tables in there. You can look at all this up. But again, almost 6,000 fewer killings in 2024 than 2021. And going back, quote, the drop-off spans both red and blue states and has unfolded even as police departments have struggled to fill vacancies, and this is the part that caught my attention, and Americans have purchased guns at a staggering pace. So hold on. So almost 6,000 fewer killings in a 4-year span, and this is during a time span, this is according to the Washington Post, when Americans have purchased guns at a staggering pace. Is that true? By the way, last week, I talked about how there were 1.3 million new gun purchases just last month, and how that was, comparatively speaking, a very high rate in a particular month. But that's been a pattern that's been going on for quite some time. But when you look at all of this and you look at this data, it goes back farther than that. I mean, what have you heard from liberal politicians? What have you heard from, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any of the Democrats in Congress for years and years and years, is that what do you hear? That we have an epidemic of gun violence in this country. And when we talk about gun violence, we're talking about homicides. And a lot of times they lump homicides and suicides together, which of course is misleading, because when you look at fatalities from firearms in a given year, they're typically 2/3 suicides. Well over half every single year. But when you look at total fatalities, including homicides, you're typically talking about gun violence to a very large degree, large percentage. And they talk about an avalanche, a tsunami, a wave of gun violence. It's overtaking this country, and we need to pass dramatic gun control measures to stem this tide of a dramatic increase in homicides caused by, quote-unquote, gun violence in this country. Do the numbers really support that? I mean, how many times you've heard that? We've heard it so many times that a lot of people just take that as true. You know, the highest homicide rate we've ever had in this country, going back 40 years, highest ever, and here we're talking about homicides per 100,000 people. You know when the highest that ever was? A lot of people would say, oh, well, it had to have been just recently, last year or so. No, it's 1980. In 1980, the homicide rate per 100,000 people in the United States was 10.2. And then it went down, it went up, it kind of wavered around, and then all of a sudden, starting in about 1994, it declined every year and got very low all the way down to, in 1999, down to 5.5. An almost 50% reduction from 1980. Then it remained fairly constant, kind of wavered around a little bit until COVID. And during COVID, you had the summer of love, as we like to call it. You had a lot of people running rampant in the streets. You had riots. And all of a sudden, it popped back up. Now, nobody blamed that on COVID. Nobody blamed that about people rioting or looting or burglarizing or ambushing police officers or any of the other things we actually saw during COVID. Nobody blamed it on that. So, well, it's got to be guns. We need to restrict guns. You know what's happened then since 2020? 2020, again, after a bit of a spike in homicides, homicide rate per 100,000 people was 6.8. You know what's done since then? It's gone down every single year. 6.5, 5.7. And you know what it was in 2024? The last year, obviously, we have complete data for 4.6. 4.6. That's one of the lowest rates we've seen. This is homicide rate per 100,000. One of the lowest rates we've seen since the FBI has been keeping the statistics. Dramatically, the Washington Post had to acknowledge it and had to acknowledge that that's happened as people have been buying guns in record numbers. And oh, by the way, you know what else happened between 2020 and now? A whole bunch of additional states passed constitutional carry, where people don't necessarily have to have a license or a permit in their home state to be able to carry a gun and protect themselves. And what did we hear? When we were fighting for constitutional carry, over the 10 years that I fought for constitutional carry in the Indiana General Assembly, what was the primary argument we heard against it? Oh, well, if more people are carrying guns, we're going to see more people shooting each other. We're going to see more homicides. We're going to see more people die. The crime rate's going to go up. Police officers are going to be attacked more often. The homicide rate's going to go through the roof. It's going to be blood in the streets. It's going to be the Wild West. How many times did you hear that while we were fighting for constitutional carry, including in 2022 when we got it passed? It's going to be the Wild West, blood in the streets. What's the homicide rate done nationally And by the way, we were, I believe, the 21st state in 2022 to pass constitutional carry. It's now up to 30. And during those years, when those additional states were passing constitutional carry, what's the homicide rate done? It's plummeted down to one of its lowest rates ever. Certainly in the last 40 years. You think perhaps, just throw this out there, just spitball in here, more law-abiding citizens that have the capacity to defend themselves, to resist violent crime, to prevent violent criminals from murdering them because they have the capacity to defend themselves, their homes, and their families. You think that's contributed to a dramatic decline in homicide rates every year? I've got a theory. What's your theory on that point? And listen, you can't say there's causation in terms of passing constitutional carry or people buying more and more guns, which they clearly have. The numbers don't lie. It's just numbers. The FBI puts out the numbers on homicides every year. The FBI puts out the numbers on background checks that people go through when they're buying a new gun. We know what the numbers are on people buying guns. And we certainly know the numbers of more and more states passing constitutional carry. But you can't say there's causation, but you certainly can say there's correlation. And when there's a correlation, you can perhaps intuit, you can infer that there's a direct cause as well. And I was fascinated to see that even the Washington Post, get your head around that for a minute, was forced to acknowledge that this refrain, this chant that we hear over and over and over again from people like Moms Demand Action and the Brady Campaign and the Gifford Center and the Violence Policy Center and all the gun control groups out there, what do we see? When we had the annual meeting, the NRA annual meeting here in Indianapolis, I remember the protesters from Mom Demand Action. What did they have? What are the signs that they all passed out? These pre-printed signs they all walked around downtown Indianapolis with. More guns, more crime. More guns, more crime. More Americans own guns today than at any time in history. The largest percentage, the largest sheer number. And the homicide rates are plummeting. So Moms Demand Action, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Get your head around that for a minute. Because those numbers don't lie. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Washington takes on socialism.
93 WIBC.
The House plans a vote today on a measure to condemn socialism.
What happens next
Starbucks union ramping up its strike.
happens here.
This strike is starting to get grande.
Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up and punishable by death.
Stay in the know
Diplomats have presented a peace plan to Russian and Ukrainian leaders.
while you're on the go.
It's a good plan for both Russia and Ukraine.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. You know, if you've lost your Second Amendment rights due to a conviction on your record or some other issue that's occurred with you, you're interested in your options for perhaps restoring your gun rights, that's something we do often, and we enjoy doing. You can contact us through the website. Just go to relfordlaw.com. The phone number's right there. You can call us during the week, or you can send us an email right through the website as well. We do restorations, expungements, which can also seal a record of a conviction off your record for a lot of convictions. Not all, but certainly a lot. If you're interested in that, reach out and contact us through relfordlaw.com.
Black Friday deals are happening all month long at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. You can lease a new Ford Escape or a Bronco Sport for just $339 a month. Plus, you could save over $13,000 on a new Ford F-150. You always get more with Andy Moore's Get More Guarantee. More savings, more selection, and more for your trade. Buy your vehicle 100% online. It is so easy to do at AndyMooreFord.com, and Andy Moore will deliver it right to your door. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield is the place for your car, truck, and SUV SUV. And if you've got a business, Andy Moore Ford is the place for your commercial vehicle. Not only to get your new medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks, but their service bays can handle vehicles up to 35,000 pounds. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield for all the Black Friday deals. Check them out, 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore Ford. That's Andy Moore, M-O-H-R. AndyMooreFord.com.
Gage Diamonds has a secret for creating something stunning, something forever. It's our skilled ring designers. Tell them about your favorite ring styles. Show them your inspirations. Together, you'll make magic. Schedule your in-person or online appointment. Gage specializes in exceptional lab-grown diamonds. Financing available. Visit GageDiamonds.com. We're engagement's middle name.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Senator Jim Banks is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Senator Jim Banks at 202-224-4814 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most. That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family's banking on bandwidth. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi? It would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new 2026 Corolla, $219 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag, title license, 249 dealer doc, 36 months RAV4 model 4432, 39 months Corolla model 1852, 2999 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter, expires 11/30.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
See Pierce Jewelers' breathtaking selection of lab-grown diamonds, refined to perfection and value. It's the new choice in diamonds. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
This hour powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
Want to be in the room where it happens? Win opening night tickets to Broadway's Hamilton Tuesday, December 2nd. Enter now at WIBC.com for your shot to see the show everyone's talking about.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. By the way, if you'd like to join the discussion, as always, you know, going back 10 plus years since we've had the Gun Guy Show, we started as a call-in show. I was a kind of a fill-in host on someone else's show, and we decided to have a full hour of Ask the Gun Guy, or Ask the Gun Lawyer, I think we called it then. And a bunch of people called. and a bunch of people had interesting questions, and I gave them answers, and that's what led to WIBC asking me if I wanted to have my own show. And I always want to kind of be true to my roots, true to the origins of the Gun Guy show here, and so I always want to take your calls. I think, and maybe the Home and Garden show is the only other show like this, but otherwise I think I'm the only show that takes calls throughout the entire duration of the show. And so if you got a question, you got a comment, you want to weigh in on a Second Amendment issue, give us a call, 317-239-9393, 317-239-9393. Producer Kevin is here through his own good graces and kindness. He's helping us out on the weekend after dealing with Rob Kendall all week. I mean, that's above and beyond the Call of Duty, no question. But you can call in. You can say thanks to producer Kevin for helping us out here on the weekend, and we'll get you right on the air with whatever your question or comment might be. But I've posted this on both Facebook and Twitter. And by the way, on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it these days, you can go on there, give me a follow while you're there. I'm just at Guy Relford. But if you want to see the background on this and some of the paperwork, I reposted a post from the Gun Owners of America. And listen, one question I get all the time is Guy, what gun rights groups should I support? Who is out there doing the work that we ought to, as gun owners and as Second Amendment proponents, who should we be supporting out there? And listen, I'm a benefactor life member of NRA. Now, I became that level of member of NRA quite some time ago. And NRA obviously went through a rough patch. And the leadership, or lack thereof, by Wayne LaPierre was very suspect. Wayne LaPierre, to my understanding, is still involved in litigation over his misuse of NRA funds. And NRA cost itself a lot of credibility with a lot of people. NRA is on the way back. There's no question about that. We have now three Hoosiers that are on the board of directors from NRA. We have new leadership. Wayne LaPierre is gone. And listen, I fully believe we need a strong, well-funded, fully functional NRA out there, as we've had for generations, in order to help fight, especially on the national level, for our gun rights here in the United States. But there are a lot of other groups that are really doing solid work. One of those is Gun Owners of America. And I'll come back to that here in just a minute. But Firearms Policy Coalition, FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition, they are doing great work, especially in the courtroom. They are out there, they are winning cases, and they are promoting our rights. And I've talked about many of those cases here on the show. And the Second Amendment Foundation, Alan Gottlieb's group, solid, excellent. I'm a member of all these and will continue to be, in addition to my lifetime membership in NRA. Here locally, obviously, you've got the 2A Project, that group that I founded in 2020, and we were right out front and getting a lot done here in Indiana, whether it's constitutional carry or any number of other pro-2A bills we've gotten done since then. And of course, you got the Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association, who are a great resource and are right there shoulder to shoulder with us in the State House as well. But on the national level, I got to tell you, I am a big fan of Gun Owners of America. They are not shy about going to the courtroom and winning in the courtroom. They will take on hard issues, and they've had a lot of success, as Firearms Policy Coalition has, as Second Amendment Foundation has, and obviously NRA. I mean, the most important 2A case we've ever had in the United States, that by a 1-vote margin, a 5-4 margin in the U.S. Supreme Court, right? The U.S. Supreme Court decided that there is, in fact, an individual right to bear arms protected by the Second Amendment, unrelated to service in the military. And a lot of people argued, and in fact 4 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court agreed. Happily, they were in the minority by 1 vote, but in Heller versus D.C. in 2008, that was absolutely pioneered, funded, advanced, championed by NRA. The Supreme Court decided for the first time that there is, in fact, an individual right protected by the Second Amendment. If Heller had gone the other way, if one vote had gone the other way, in the United States today, if you're not in the National Guard, the Second Amendment would protect nothing for you. Zero. Think about that for a second. How important was that? That was NRA. So we got to give them credit where credit is due. The relative fiasco of Wayne LaPierre's years of leadership notwithstanding. But anyway, back to Gun Owners of America. One of the lawsuits that they've filed is to invalidate major portions of the National Firearms Act of 1934, the NFA. What's the NFA regulate? Well, if you listen to the Gun Guy Show, you know this already, but a brief review. In 1934, Congress, I think influenced as much by gangster movies and headlines, decided that certain classifications of firearms needed to be more highly regulated than your typical rifle, pistol, or shotgun. And they looked at specifically machine guns, right? You had lots of gangsters running around with the Thompson submachine guns, and Hollywood loved to glamorize that. And then short-barreled shotguns, short-barreled rifles, suppressors, which then they called silencers. And this is another thing you know if you listen to the Gun Guy Show. Silencer was actually the brand name for the guy who invented the firearm suppressor, Hiram Percy Maxim, who he called his product a firearm muffler, and his brand name was a silencer. And Congress got the idea that there were going to be all these ninja assassins running around silently executing people and said, oh my God, we need to regulate these things. So short-barreled shotguns, and the idea is that, you know, a gangster, a criminal, a bad guy could hide a short-barreled rifle, short-barreled shotgun under his overcoat and sneak that wherever he wanted to and then inflict mayhem on society. And then a couple of other classifications, destructive devices and any other weapons. And I won't take the time right now to go into the description of those other areas, but those other definitions. But those, mainly machine guns, suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled pistols, short-barreled shotguns, machine gun suppressors. Said, you know, we're not going to ban them because in 1934, Congress still feared the Second Amendment. They still feared the Supreme Court. Arrest them, particularly when they haven't paid the tax. And it was a way of regulating these items, these NFA items, these NFA firearms, under the guise of taxation. What they really wanted was the registration component. And so what happened? Well, you had a lawsuit filed. Well, it wasn't a lawsuit so much as it was a criminal prosecution of a guy named Sonzinski. And this ended up going all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And by the way, this is originated right next door in Illinois, went to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, which Indiana's in that same Seventh Circuit. But he was a guy who was a gun dealer who didn't pay his extra tax, because, by the way, you have to pay also what's called a special occupational tax in order to deal in NFA items. That's part of the NFA. And you can't possess an NFA item without having paid the tax and registered it. Well, Sonzinski was a gun dealer, and he hadn't paid his special occupational tax to be an NFA dealer. He also possessed at least one short-barreled shotgun without having paid the tax himself. So he got prosecuted, and you're looking at 10 years in federal prison. And Sonzinski said, back in the 30s, not long after the NFA was passed, well, this whole thing's unconstitutional. It is disguised as a tax, but it is really gun control registration and regulation, which the federal government has no constitutional authority to do. It's a police power which is reserved to the state, and the federal government has no constitutional authority to even pass the NFA, much less enforce it and put me in prison. And this goes up to the United States Supreme Court, and they issued their decision in 1937. Now, why are we talking about a 1937 decision? Well, we're going to take a break here right now, but the reason we're talking about it is because that decision forms the basis for litigation going on right now that may ultimately go to the Supreme Court as well on whether recent changes to the NFA and the taxation required as part of NFA actually render it completely unconstitutional and therefore unenforceable. I went a little quickly through that. If that doesn't make sense to you, if that's confusing to you, I will parse that out and make it much more clear when we come back. Right now, we're past the bottom of the hour. It's time to take a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Same stretch of 465. Same mess.
What a mess!
It's messed up, right?
Yeah, if Matt Bear's talking, I'm listening. He's saved me too many times.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Indianapolis traffic is a puzzle. Matt has the map.
I trust Matt Bear more than my traffic app.
Matt's stuck in the booth.
I'm stuck.
So you're not stuck in the car. Mornings
Good morning.
and afternoons.
It's lunchtime.
On 93 WIBC.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Booher Remodeling. BOOHER. BooherRemodeling.com. They can take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. Their 5-step design process from start to finish, the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in central Indiana. Booher Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with the free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Booher Remodeling today. BOOHER. BooherRemodeling.com. That's BooherRemodeling.com.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive, free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in-store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. President Trump offering his first reaction to news that Marjorie Taylor Greene will be leaving Congress after she split with him on policies.
I said, go your own way, and once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
Greene split with Trump on releasing the Epstein files, and she says Republicans have to be more concerned about affordability. The U.S. increasing its military presence off Venezuela.
Late this week, a pair of B-52 bombers from Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota flew an attack demonstration flight off the coast of Venezuela.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in the Caribbean. President Trump's accused Venezuela of narco-terrorism. America is listening to Fox News.
Hammer and Nigel here. I've had previous experience with weight loss injections, and they worked, but the provider was very impersonal. With Premier Weight Loss, it's a totally different experience, Hammer. Their offices are professional and relaxing and impressive. It's not a compound product. It's true medical guidance, not just a telehealth chat request. And by the way, Hammer, the price of this most popular option is $350 per month.
Everybody's journey is different. I lost 50 pounds on my own, but then I hit a plateau and I couldn't lose anymore. And that's when I reached out for help. And Premier Weight Loss, they customized the plan specifically for me. And they got 2 different locations. There's one at 96th and Meridian. There's one off 106th and 69. please stop by pwlnd.com. pwlnd.com. And I'm telling you, you're going to feel so much better. Make sure you tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
I'm Dwight Freeney, and my friend Eli is alive today thanks to someone who said yes to organ donation. When Eli was just 12 years old, he received a liver transplant that saved his life because someone just like you said yes to being an organ donor. His story and many others like his are why I have teamed up with Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana to help end the wait for life-saving organs. You can help. Say yes to being an organ donor next time you are at the BMV.
JMV here. It's the most wonderful time of the year at Miss Him's Home and Garden. Join them this Saturday, November the 22nd, and Sunday, November the 23rd, for their annual holiday open house. Stroll through the garden shop to shop the festive decor, enjoy food samples, and sign up for giveaways and door prizes with your purchase. Fresh-cut trees, greenery, wreaths, porch pots, and more will fill the greenhouse. Bring your family and friends to enjoy the festivities. Miss M's is located on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Here with producer Kevin, who's been kind enough to help us out here on the weekend. Stepped into the breach as we're sort of between producers, and so he's doing heroic work, which we greatly appreciate him giving up his Saturday evening to help us out here, not only on the Gun Guy Show, but on Saturday night on The Circle, coming up right here at 7 o'clock. But I was talking about this Sonzinski case. Sonzinski is a guy who's a dealer, but he didn't register, didn't pay his SOT, his special occupational tax, which you have to do in order to deal in NFA items. And he himself possessed a short-barreled shotgun that's required to be registered and also requires a $200 tax for you upon registration to be able to possess that. And by the way, I whenever I talk about NFA and I talk about the $200 tax, I always repeat this story. So if you're rolling your eyes at me and you're saying to yourself you've heard this before, forgive me, but to me it's so interesting. I always want to repeat it for anybody who hasn't heard it. The original $200 tax, which has never gone up since 1934. What? I mean, not that I'm happy about paying $200. And listen, I have a lot of suppressors. I'm somewhat addicted to suppressors. You start shooting suppressed, you want more suppressors. That's just the way it works. I've got several SBRs and an SBS. In fact, it was 2013, I think, when Indiana decriminalized so-called sawed-off shotguns. And July 1st, when the Indiana law was going into effect, like at midnight, 12:01, I filed my electronic Form 1 to make a short-barreled shotgun because I wanted to be the first kid on my block in Indiana to have a short-barreled shotgun. But the tax is $200. And I'm not that crazy about paying $200 for every suppressor I want to buy. You're buying an $800, $1,000 suppressor. Well, hell, you got to pay another 20% for the damn tax. Not happy about it. But it's an interesting question or an interesting point to say what else, whether it's taxes or retail costs or anything else, what else hasn't gone up since 1934? I mean, seriously, 90 years plus? That's pretty impressive. The $200 tax has always been the $200 tax. And you know where that came from? The retail cost in 1934 of a Thompson submachine gun was $200. And so Congress thought it would be really slick to impose a 100% tax on a Thompson submachine gun in order for anybody to own one. And they thought that would greatly discourage anybody from buying one because you just doubled the cost. And secondly, they could collect that revenue. So at any rate, Mr. Sonzinski is being prosecuted right over in Illinois because he didn't pay his tax and he possessed an unregistered short-barreled shotgun. He says the NFA is unconstitutional because Congress didn't have the constitutional authority to regulate guns. There's nothing within the Constitution that gives Congress that power. they're essentially trying to keep people safe, quote unquote. At least that's the ostensible reason for passing the law. And that's a police power, which is not granted to the federal government in the Constitution. And that old pesky 10th Amendment says that if any power is not expressly granted to the federal government in the Constitution, it's reserved for the states and the people. So boom, no constitutional authority. And the argument against that came back from the government was, oh no, this is simply a taxing statute. It's primarily revenue generating. It's not exercising a true police power, wink, wink. It's just requiring taxation, and the whole registration thing is just sort of a way of keeping track of who's paid the tax and who hasn't. So while there may be some incidental benefit of the statute in terms of keeping people safer and regulating firearms in the process, that's not really what it's about. It's about generating revenue, and the federal government is granted a taxing power by the Constitution. So exclusively because it was a taxing statute, the Supreme Court in 1937, in the Sosinski case, rules that on that basis and on that basis alone, the NFA is constitutional. All right. Flash forward. 2025. We're fighting in Congress to try to deregulate under the NFA short-barreled shotguns, short-barreled rifles, and suppressors, take them out of the NFA altogether. And different iterations of the so-called Great Big Beautiful Bill, it's certainly big. There are a lot of people who will debate how beautiful. But different iterations of that, different drafts of that, especially going back and forth between the House and the Senate, either completely took suppressors, short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns out of the NFA, or simply eliminated the tax on those items, but left the NFA requirement of registration. Ultimately, the way it's passed, and this goes into effect January 1st, 2026, which is coming right up, they simply remove the tax. They still require the registration on those three items, but they remove the tax. And this was a big concession that a lot of people weren't all that happy about, but the pro-2A people in Congress were willing to give up. But what does that do? Eliminating the tax on those three items, what does that do to the constitutionality of the NFA, given the Sosinski decision, which is the Supreme Court case that says it's only constitutional because it collects a tax? Well, that's where we are, and that led to a Gun Owners of America lawsuit to say that the NFA is unconstitutional at a minimum as to those three items, SBRs, SBSs, and suppressors, because they did away with the tax. And the only ostensible reason the statute's constitutional to begin with is because it collects a tax. Well, that sounds pretty solid to me. And a lot of us expected the federal government, through Pam Bondi's Department of Justice, to simply fold their tent and go home and say, yep, got us there. You must be right. The NFA is unconstitutional, at least as to those items. Is that what's happened? Therein lies the rub. That's what we'll go into when we come back. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
The Secret Service announced that they have dismantled basically an electronic spying ring, 300 SIM servers, and 100,000 SIM cards. This network that was broken up would have the ability to text everybody in the United States within a couple of seconds.
Yeah, no arrests concerns me, but the fact that they caught it is awesome.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the Law Office of Guy Relford. If you've lost your gun rights through a criminal conviction or other issue that's happened with you legally, and you'd be interested in restoring your gun rights, contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com. for a lot of folks, not necessarily everyone, for a lot of folks, we can do a lot of good in terms of restoring rights. We're happy to talk to you about that. Go to the website, either send us an email through the website or the phone number's right there. You can call us during the week. We'd be glad to talk to you about restoring Second Amendment rights if that's something that you're interested in pursuing. It's relfordlaw.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Get great deals next weekend at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at Stout Field in Indianapolis. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Admission is just $6 for adults, and kids 12 and under get in free. Attendees must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 to 5 and Sunday, 9 to 3. Get directions and see upcoming events and more at CentralIndianaGunShows.com. That's CentralIndianaGunShows.com. Growing your retail business is easier with Shopify Point of Sale. Shopify POS connects your entire retail store, in-store, online, and social media on one platform. It's built for how customers shop today and for how they'll shop tomorrow. The result? Smoother checkouts and deeper customer relationships that pay off and keep them coming back. Ready to grow with Shopify POS? Visit shopify.com/switchnow for more details. That's shopify.com/switchnow.
Remember lining up before dawn on Black Friday? Those days might be gone, but the excitement isn't. Great Lakes Honda of Fishers is keeping Black Friday alive all month long and kicking off Happy Honda Days. This month only, lease a 2026 CRV LX all-wheel drive for $359 a month for 39 months with zero down and registered Winnie Yeti cooler. Visit Great Lakes Honda of Fishers off State Road 37 today. Tax not included with approved credit through Honda Financial. In-stock new Hondas only, not combinable with other offers. $10K a year. All fees and first payment due at signing. Offer ends November 30th. See dealer for details.
Do you remember what was happening in America? Families struggling, billions in wasteful spending. But Senator Todd Young fought back. He voted for working family tax cuts, and Senator Young voted to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse, saving taxpayers billions. So call Senator Todd Young at 202-224-5623 and thank him for supporting the Working Families Tax Cut. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
WIBC cares, and if you or someone you care about needs food assistance, we have resources for you, including food distribution locations with an interactive map. Also, learn how you can make a difference for friends and neighbors in need, all at WIBC.com.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. We've got kind of a short segment here, so we're not going to be here real long. Although I gotta mention some idiot on the YouTube feed. Let's see, who is this? Jen something just made the point. Said, I hate it when people like Guy ignore shall not be infringed. And give a pass to blatant infringement of the Second Amendment by simply saying that the tax hasn't gone up or some crap like that. Usually listeners of the Gun Guy Show have much better listening comprehension than this idiot. I'm not forgiving any infringement of the Second Amendment. I'm not minimizing the fact the federal government continues to infringe our Second Amendment rights. In fact, my whole point in this segment, which I will continue in a moment, is the NFA is and should be found to be unconstitutional and go away in its entirety. And I'm making some interesting, in my mind anyway, interesting historical note. about how the tax hasn't gone up. It's just interesting to me that it was $200 in 1934 and it's $200 in 2025. That doesn't forgive any infringement upon our rights there, Einstein. And simply noting it's interesting that Congress has never raised it. In the meantime, what the lawsuit that was filed by the Gun Owners of America says is that because the tax has gone away and the Sunzinski Supreme Court decision said the NFA is only constitutional because of the tax, it should now be found to be unconstitutional. And as I mentioned, there was some hope, now it turns out to be naive, that the Pam Bondi Department of Justice, that under her leadership as Attorney General, would turn around and say, you know what, you're right, it's unconstitutional, and the whole thing would fold. Is that what's happened? No. What's happened is they just, I believe yesterday, the day before, filed their brief in response to this lawsuit, and they not only continue to make the argument that the NFA is constitutional, they go way beyond the basis of the Sunzinski decision and make a lot of arguments that the gun control proponents in this country have been making for years. How offensive is that? That's what we'll go into in a lot more detail when we come back in hour number 2. Right now, we're taking a break. Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Come on now, wake up. The news doesn't wait, and you've got things to do.
It's unclear where exactly the company will place their headquarters, but it's expected to bring 5,000 new jobs to Indiana.
Everything is stopped going into Indiana's second busiest interchange at northbound 65 stopped.
My morning routine is pretty simple. Coffee, keys, WIBC.
Let's get cooking, boo-boo.
Tony Katz and the Morning News. Mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC.
Black Friday deals are happening all month long at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. You can lease a new Ford Escape or a Bronco Sport for just $339 a month. Plus, you could save over $13,000 on a new Ford F-150. You always get more with Andy Moore's Get More Guarantee. More savings, more selection, and more for your trade. Buy your vehicle 100% online. It is so easy to do at AndyMooreFord.com, and Andy Moore will deliver it right to your door. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield is the place for your car, truck, and SUV. And if you've got a business, Andy Moore Ford is the place for your commercial vehicle. Not only to get your new medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks, but their service bays can handle vehicles up to 35,000 pounds. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield for all the Black Friday deals. Check them out, 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore Ford. That's Andy Moore, M-O-H-R.
I love Andy.
AndyMooreFord.com.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, is it true?
What's that?
Tire Discounters is offering up to $200 off sets of Goodyear tires?
Absolutely.
Plus free alignment and a full synthetic oil change?
You got it.
I'm not one to exaggerate, but that may be the best deal in the history of the world.
But free would be better.
Mike, don't toy with me.
Through the holidays, every day we're open, someone will get their money back on 4 tires.
But I...
Just breathe, Phantom. Breathe.
No purchase necessary. Ends 12/31/25. Visit website for details.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I am not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs. Yeah, I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new 2026 Corolla, $219 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. grand opening savings, and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license, 249 dealer doc, 36 months RAV4 model 4432, 39 months Corolla model 1852, 29.99 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual mile, 15 cents per mile thereafter, expires 11/30.
But I think she's a nice person.
Green announced she's leaving Congress on January 5th to spare her district a bruising primary fight. Fox's Madison Scarpino.
Green posting a 10-minute video slamming what she calls the political industrial complex. And she goes on to say no matter which party is in power, quote, nothing gets better for the common American man or woman. She also criticizes the recent government shutdown, the cost of living, the Epstein files, foreign aid, and more. Green then talks about her long-standing dedication to the president and how loyalty should be a, quote, two-way street.
With Green gone, House Republicans will have a slimmer majority. Surprising scene in the Oval Office, an unlikely political alliance between two big New Yorkers. Here's Fox's Jared Halpern.
President Trump and New York's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani have traded barbs, describing each other as a communist and a fascist. It was all forgotten in their first Oval Office meeting.
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
The president says he is confident Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, will do a very good job as mayor. Mamdani says he and President Trump share the same goal of making New York a more affordable city. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The president is suspending legal protections for Somali immigrants in Minnesota. He's immediately terminating their protective status, writing without evidence that Minnesota is a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. America is listening to Fox News.
You never know who might be taking the quiz.
Hi, I'm Teresa Giudice.
I'm Clay Aiken.
I am Dre DeMatteo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Whelan.
Hey, everybody. It's Billy Baldwin.
It's Patricia Heaton.
Hey, everyone. I'm Nicole Palizzi. It's Candace Bushnell.
Hey, everyone. It's Henry Golding.
Hey, everybody's Kevin Nealon. I'm Ted Lange, and it's time to take
The quiz. 5 questions in less than 5 minutes every day. Listen and follow at thequiz.fox.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday. Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you.
Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
Ukraine's allies are
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
The funeral for a fallen deputy. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. A somber day in Delaware County as the community remembers Corporal Blake Reynolds, who died last week as he was helping a driver along the side of Interstate 69. Blake's father, Bruce, spoke at Saturday's funeral, saying he's proud of the man his son was.
What you're born with is the only thing you take to the grave with you, and that's your name. And what you do with that in between determines your character. I'm proud to say my son finished the race well.
Saturday's service was held at Delta High School, where Blake and his brother went. He was buried at Jones Cemetery in Muncie. A culinary company is being added to the lawsuit in the stabbing case of former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez. Hussey Culinary Inc., which owns popular Indianapolis spots like St. Elmo's Steakhouse and Harry and Izzy's, is now mentioned in the suit, claiming they continued to serve Sanchez alcohol while he was at an event, which led to his impairment and caused the fight in an alley with another man that got him stabbed on October 4th. A Gas City man is sentenced to 25 years in prison for child molesting in Johnson County in 2021. Prosecutor Lance Hamner says Austin Cohey, who had a criminal past before this, was not a parent of the victim, but was in the home during the assault.
This is not an individual who came in and said, yeah, I did it, I'm sorry. This is a person who took it to trial, and the victim had to go in and testify.
On top of the 25 years, Cohey faces 3 years of work release as well as 2 years of probation. And the Colts are taking on the Chiefs Sunday in Kansas City. Kickoff time is at 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm Jarrett Lewis, on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Few passing clouds overnight, low temperature in the upper 30s, winds out of the west-southwest of 5 to 10, and then moving into Sunday. Sunny as can be with high temperature in the upper 50s as you move into the afternoon. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Aaron Sutis for 93 WIBC.
We know that around the holidays, things don't always go as planned. That's why Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So make memories this season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Over 2,000 to choose from. And buy with zero down. Yes, zero down delivers. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. No matter where your plans take you, spread cheer all season long, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Happy holidays, Indiana. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Select models, approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our home has had Rhino Shield for 10 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at GotYour6.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. So we were talking about the lawsuit that Gun Owners of America brought to set aside major components of the National Firearms Act. And this thing looks to have an incredibly solid argument behind it, which is, hey, the NFA is only constitutional to begin with, at least according to the Sonzinski case from 1937, because it's not really gun control. It's not really exercising the police power. It's just the federal government doing what it's authorized to do, which is levy a tax. Well, the tax just went away on SBRs, SBSs, and suppressors. So doesn't that do away with the constitutionality of the statute? At least as to those items, that seems to me to be a pretty simple yes. But in a move that is greatly disappointing to a lot of us, and disappointing is different than surprising. And let's talk about that for a minute. You know, Pam Bondi as Attorney General, there was a significant portion of gun rights organizations and those of us who value the Second Amendment, and in fact been engaged in the fight for Second Amendment rights for a long time, that had very legitimate concerns about Pam Bondi becoming Attorney General. And why is that? Pam Bondi was Attorney General of Florida before Trump nominated her to be U.S. Attorney General. While Attorney General of Florida, she litigated litigation on behalf of the state of Florida to protect, to preserve, to defend the constitutionality of Florida's red flag laws, allowing gun seizure from people who haven't been convicted of any crime, and one that caught a lot of people somewhat by surprise in terms of the federal, or excuse me, in terms of the state of Florida being willing to pass this, and then the Attorney General there being willing to defend it in court, which was Florida passed a prohibition on the purchase of any long gun by people under 21. Federal law says you have to be 21 to buy a handgun, but federal law says you can buy a long gun, a rifle, or a shotgun when you're 18. After the Parkland school shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, the state of Florida, the legislature passed a law there that says you have to be 21 to buy a rifle or a shotgun, saying that essentially if you're in the age range from 18 to 21, you have no Second Amendment rights. because you can't buy a handgun already under federal law, and now you can't buy a rifle or a shotgun under Florida law. And a lot of people, rightfully so, and in fact, this is another issue that's going to be litigated at the federal level in terms of even the federal prohibition on handguns. And I fully expect that to be turned around. But Pam Bondi defended that litigation as well for Florida. So she's out there on record. And again, part of her job, and the reason I was willing to at least reserve judgment, I had a lot of trepidation, I had a lot of concern, but I was willing to reserve judgment as U.S. Attorney General because her job as Florida Attorney General is to defend the statutes on the books. And it doesn't necessarily denote what her personal views are, or her personal legal analysis necessarily, if her job, the job description, is to defend the statute. Because there it's an up or down decision. It's either legal, it's either constitutional, or it's not. And I wasn't pleased with the position she took in those cases, but I thought, well, let's wait and see. So then we started off pretty well with the U.S. Attorney General in the Trump administration, because one of the first things she did, she came out and announced that the U.S. Department of Justice would review the federal government's position in any pending case involving Second Amendment rights. And in those cases where they felt that a federal statute was unconstitutional, they would fold their tent and concede. And in those cases where they felt the argument against the federal government promoting Second Amendment rights was the better part of the argument, they would concede. And they would resolve those cases and promote Second Amendment rights. And we have some solid examples of that. They pretty much gave up in the bump stock litigation. Bump stock litigation went up to the Supreme Court. I didn't mean to say bump stock. I meant pistol brace litigation. They pretty much gave up in the pistol brace litigation, and that issue went away. Forced reset triggers. They pretty much gave up on forced reset triggers. They settled that case to say that essentially now forced reset triggers, do not convert a gun into a machine gun and are totally legal. You can put a forced reset trigger into your rifle, your handgun for that matter, doesn't convert it to a machine gun. Good thing I have a forced reset trigger in an SBR that I have. And that's because the federal government resolved that litigation with Rare Breed, if you want to look that up, U.S. versus Rare Breed, and said, nope, you're right. You guys made that force reset trigger. They're good to go and not illegal. And so we had some reason to be optimistic, but then we get to this litigation involving the NFA. And they didn't just come back and file a brief, and this is where the Gun Owners of America is trying to win on summary judgment, a purely legal argument. File a motion, file a brief. Court rules on that. The federal government, in the form of the Pam Bondi Department of Justice, filed a response. It doesn't just say, well, certainly it doesn't concede that doing away with a tax on those NFA items at issue makes the statute unconstitutional. They didn't concede it. They argue, no, it's still constitutional. They went way, way, way beyond that. And this is where it's disappointing. They came out and they said, well, Congress can regulate anything it wants to regarding firearms under the Commerce Clause. And listen, if you want to get me going, I'll tell you the biggest attack on freedom in this country and the biggest overextension of federal power and overextension of Congress's power ever in this country has been the Supreme Court allowing Congress to use the Commerce Clause to regulate almost any damn thing they want to. Well, if something affects interstate commerce in some way, then the constitutional delegation of power to the federal government to regulate interstate commerce is implicated, and then therefore it's constitutional. That's not what the founders intended with the Commerce Clause. And that's been the subject of, or that's been the rationale behind the passing of every federal gun control law since then. If you notice, in things like the Brady Bill or whatnot, they'll say, as to firearms that have moved in interstate commerce, and then they go on and regulate whatever they want to. They went beyond that, and they said, well, the necessary and proper clause, right? Because if the federal government has been specifically delegated a particular power, the necessary and proper clause of the Constitution says, well, they also have the power, those additional powers that are necessary and proper in order to enforce the power given to them by the Constitution. Well, that's not a grant of all new powers. It doesn't give them powers not relegated to them. It just allows them to take the steps necessary to do the job the Constitution assigns to them. But then they went beyond that, and they even went, in this brief went on to say that these particular NFA items, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and suppressors, guess what term they used? Weapons of war. Weapons of war that need to be specifically regulated by the NFA to keep Americans safe. I'm going to leave it there while we go into this break, but let's talk a little bit about how completely inconsistent that is with the Szynzinski decision, which is the one that established for the first time that NFA was constitutional to begin with. It's completely inconsistent. It's maddening. And the fact that this came out of Trump's Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice run now by Attorney General Pam Bondi, is not just disappointing to me, it's disgusting. It's making every liberal gun control advocate, every gun grabber, I don't even use that term a lot because it's overused. What do they love to say? They love to talk about keeping people safe, and they love to talk about guns of war, weapons of war that need to be taken out of the hands of the common citizen. Guns of war, weapons of war. Let's talk about that and what our founders absolutely believed about that issue when we come back. Right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Trying to get out of the grocery store to purchase anything that resembles a week's worth of food. Mm-hmm. Between the Walmart and Costco trip, it was like almost $280. How is this sustainable for most normal people?
Well, you're going to have to start taking a 50-year loan. And, of course, we've all got those utility bills.
Are they high? Is there something going on with utilities?
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. If you're interested in having your gun rights restored after a conviction, including a conviction for a crime of domestic violence, there's a process to restore your rights. It's available to a lot of people, not necessarily everyone, but if you're interested in knowing whether there's relief available to you, contact us through the website. Just go to relfordlaw.com. That's relfordlaw.com.
Hammer Nigel here. I've had previous experience with weight loss injections, and they worked, but the provider was very impersonal. With Premier Weight Loss, it's a totally different experience, Hammer. Their offices are professional and relaxing and impressive. It's not a compound product. It's true medical guidance, not just a telehealth chat request. And by the way, Hammer, the price of this most popular option is $350 per month.
Everybody's journey is different. I lost 50 pounds on my own, but then I hit a plateau and I couldn't lose anymore. And that's when I reached out for help. And Premier Weight Loss, they customized the plan specifically for me. And they got two different locations. There's one at 96th and Meridian. There's one off 106th and 69. Please stop by pwlnd.com. pwlnd.com. And I'm telling you, you're going to feel so much better. Make sure you tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
The Indianapolis real estate market is strong, but not easy. Now is a good time to sell only if you hire a real estate team that knows how to aggressively market your home, like Mark Dietl Realty. You want a fast, guaranteed, no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Mark Dietl is the real estate expert trusted and recommended with the sale of your home. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed-upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts you can cancel at any time. Neil in Indianapolis said, I'd already moved and listed my old home with an agent friend for 60 days. Not happy, I decided to evaluate the Mark Dietel marketing plan, and I switched. To my relief, after about 15 days on the market, the Mark Dietel team sold my home as is for the price I needed. Call the local Indianapolis agent, trusted and recommended. The agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. That's Mark Dietel. Call today, 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietel.com. That's Mark Dietel, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietel.com.
When I was 48 years old, I had a massive heart attack.
Jake Query, sports radio host and announcer for the IndyCar Radio Network, shares his story as a registered organ donor.
I've always heard the assumption that I don't know about being an organ donor because if you go into the ER, they're going to be more anxious to get your organs. I'm kind of proof that's not the case. When your life is the one that's in the balance, your life is the priority.
Say yes to organ donation.
I have the opportunity to allow another group of people to continue the love and the beauty of life. Why wouldn't I do it?
To learn more, go to donatelifeindiana.org.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Senator Jim Banks is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Senator Jim Banks at 202-224-4814 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
Get great deals next weekend at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at Stout Field in Indianapolis. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Admission is just $6 for adults, and kids 12 and under get in free. Attendees must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday 9 to 5 and Sunday 9 to 3. Get directions and see upcoming events and more at CentralIndianaGunShows.com. That's CentralIndianaGunShows.com. Express the heartwarming message that says love is about being together. Let a Pierce Jewelers diamond engagement ring be the symbol that says I love you. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
This hour powered by Pierce Jewelers, designers of fine custom jewelry in Carmel.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I got to tell you, this argument from the Bondi DOJ, and for Trump's DOJ to do this, again, disappointing and surprising are two different things. And we knew back in 2016, President Trump was going to be a mixed bag on two-way. He said all the right things, showed up to the NRA annual meeting, but he also said some very troubling things. He's the guy who on live TV, I was watching at the time, talking about red flag laws. He said, take the guns first, due process later. That's from President Trump. And again, he says a lot of the right things, but on his watch, the Bondi DOJ is taking positions here that I found not just inconsistent with Second Amendment rights, I find completely repugnant. And talking about these particular NFA-regulated items, SBRs, SBSs, as weapons of war, as a justification for continuing this regulation on them, I mean, I have two problems with that. First problem is you're just appealing to this emotional reaction that, oh my gosh, private citizens shouldn't have these ultra-hazardous, ultra-dangerous weapons of war that should only be in the hands of law enforcement and the military. And trying to demonize firearms that a lot of us own. And by the way, the NFA doesn't say we can't own them, just says we have to pay this ridiculous tax and register them. So, I mean, exactly what is the priority in keeping them out of the hands of ordinary citizens is all we got to do is bribe the government to let us own them. Logically, that doesn't stand up. But secondly, I'm completely disgusted by the use of that term as an argument for why guns ought to be taken out of the hands of private citizens, or regulated in this case, when I have no doubt whatsoever that our founders absolutely intended for actual weapons of war to be in the hands of private citizens. I mean, look at the wording of the Second Amendment itself. you know what the anti-2A people tried to use as a rationale, and again, what 4 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court agreed with, was the preamble, the opening clause of the Second Amendment, talking about a well-regulated militia. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. A lot of people say, well, there you go, talking about well-regulated militia. That means you need to be in a militia for the Second Amendment to protect any rights that you have. The Supreme Court rejected that and said, no, they were simply elucidating a motivation to preserve rights of individual citizens to bear arms, to keep and bear arms. But when you look at that motivation, a well-regulated militia, which is the Supreme Court held in the Heller decision, is you, it's me, it's the common citizen, being necessary for the security of a free state. If you and I, as private citizens, as the militia, in the eyes of the founders, if we're necessary and our right to bear arms is necessary for the security of a free state, there's 2 key words there, security. Yeah, because we want the militia, we want the common man to stand right next to the standing army to repel foreign invaders, to fight wars. That's security. But then they put the word free in there. What's the word free in there for? And listen, don't take my word for it. Look at the Heller decision. The Supreme Court held this, and they have reiterated it since then. Because one of the primary motivations to pass the Second Amendment and preserve and protect the right to bear arms of the common citizen is to protect against a tyrannical government. Why on earth would we want the citizens to be as well armed as the government in order to protect the security of a free state, and in the same breath say that citizens shouldn't be as well armed when it comes to so-called weapons of war? Does that make any damn sense to you? Of course not. Does it make any sense in the context of necessary to the security of a free state? If we're necessary to the security of a free state, just as a standing army is, then we ought to be just as well armed as a standing army. That just makes sense. And it is a literal, easy, logical interpretation of the Second Amendment. And then you have the Miller case from 1939, again talking about sawed-off shotguns, another NFA case. And the Supreme Court said that short-barreled shotguns, sawed-off shotguns, quote-unquote, are not protected by the Second Amendment, therefore can be regulated under the NFA because they're not particularly useful for military service. Hold on. And they went through the exact same analysis I just did under the Second Amendment. It said necessary for the security of a free state, necessary for service in a militia. So only those firearms particularly useful for military service are protected by the Second Amendment. And how the hell, since 1939, have we completely turned that on its head and said, wait a minute, if a firearm is only useful for military service, it's not protected by the Second Amendment. That's exactly the opposite of A, what the Second Amendment says, and B, what the Miller decision from 1939 says. And all that's pretty damn obvious to me, but it's obviously not obvious to the Pam Bondi Justice Department, who wants to use this emotional argument of weapons of war to argue for regulation and argue for the constitutionality of the NFA. It's completely turning logic, law, and precedent on their heads, all of which is repugnant to me. So, is there anything we can do about it? Well, listen, I don't know. I don't know that the Trump administration or the Pam Bondi DOJ will listen to us, but in the social media posts that I reposted, both on Twitter or X and Facebook, the Gun Owners of America, they have a phone number to call. They say, call and urge the Trump DOJ to stop defending gun registration, stop attacking the Second Amendment, and end the unconstitutional NFA. And they give a phone number. And this is on my social media. It's at Guy Relford on Twitter, I'm also just Guy Relford on Facebook. But the phone number, if you're taking this down, hey, it's worth a phone call. 202-456-1111. Pretty easy to remember. 202-456-1111. Gun Owners of America, Gun Owners of America, the organization, is urging us to call that number. I say let's do it. Let's all do it. You listen to this show, give it a call, 202-456-1111, and say, what the hell is Pam Bondi doing? You're supposed to be supporting and defending our Second Amendment rights. You're making arguments that the gun grabbers use against us. This is not what we expected. This is not what we want, and it's something we actually demand of the Trump administration to be turned around 180 degrees. That's worth a call. I've made the call. I'm going to call back. And I urge everyone who's listening to the show tonight to do exactly the same thing. It's at the bottom of the hour. Let's take a break. We'll change subjects here a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I've been ignoring the phone lines. Apologies to anyone who has called. We have one brave soul who's stuck around. We'll go to the phone lines. If you want to join the discussion about anything 2A related, just give us a call. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Scrolling all day, clickbait everywhere. But the facts, they're harder to find.
WIBC didn't just report the story, they really got into why it matters.
CEO of First American Nuclear believes we're heading into America's nuclear renaissance.
In 100 years, all successful nations will be powered by nuclear reactors. For the sake of our children, I'd like the U.S. to be one of them.
Oh, I check the WIBC website before I even open social media.
Online, on social, on air. Stay in the know while you're on the go with 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Comcast Business is celebrating the holidays by giving your business the $1,000 holiday bonus when you switch to a gig speed internet package. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 12, the new laptop for the office holiday hero. Or possibility number 108, smart speakers to deck those hallways. Or possibility number 192, new equipment for the new year. Or possibility number 555, Bluetooth holiday lights for office decor. Switch to Comcast Business, designed for 100% reliability with business internet and wireless connect, plus advanced cybersecurity, and now get the $1,000 holiday bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 12/14/25. New customers only with 2-year agreement. Requires qualifying gig package. Other restrictions apply.
Black Friday deals are happening all month long at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. You can lease a new Ford Escape or a Bronco Sport for just $339 a month. Plus, you could save over $13,000 on a new Ford F-150. You always get more with Andy Moore's Get More Guarantee. More savings, more selection, and more for your trade. Buy your vehicle 100% online. It is so easy to do at AndyMooreFord.com, and Andy Moore will deliver it right to your door. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield is the place for your car, truck, and SUV. And if you've got a business, Andy Moore Ford is the place for your commercial vehicle. Not only to get your new medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks, but their service bays can handle vehicles up to 35,000 pounds. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield for all the Black Friday deals. Check them out, 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore Ford. That's Andy Moore, M-O-H-R. AndyMooreFord.com.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. Thanksgiving holiday travel is underway with the FAA warning it could be one of the busiest in more than 15 years.
Travelers are urged to be patient, considering that the airlines industry is getting back to normal following the end of that 43-day government shutdown.
Fox's Christina Coleman. Chicago police say 2 separate shootings last night in the Loop left a 14-year-old boy dead and 8 other teens injured. Gunfire erupted after the Christmas tree lighting ceremony.
The youngest was a 13-year-old girl who was shot in the leg, but she is expected to be okay.
Fox's Connor Hansen. Another Christmas tree lighting shooting happened in Concord, North Carolina last night, injuring 4 people, 3 critically. And an explosion this afternoon at a senior apartment complex in Austintown, Ohio, injures several people. America's listening to Fox News.
Christmas is almost here, and if you're shopping on a budget, you shop at PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse in Brownsburg. Truly unique pieces you won't find anywhere else. And sale prices every single day. At PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse, you'll find gold, diamonds, gemstones, exquisite, one-of-a-kind pieces, and incredible local artist designs all within your budget. Your perfect place to shop for the holidays. PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg, or online at pajewelers.jewelry. That's pajewelers.jewelry.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Senator Jim Banks is fighting back. He backed one big, beautiful tax cut for working families, ending Social Security taxes for nearly all seniors, and taxes on tips and overtime gone. So call Senator Jim Banks at 202-224-4814 and thank him for backing working family tax cuts and putting America first. Paid for by American Prosperity Alliance.
JMV here. It's the most wonderful time of the year at Miss M's Home and Garden. Join them this Saturday, November the 22nd, and Sunday, November the 23rd, for their annual holiday open house. Stroll through the garden shop to shop the festive decor, enjoy food samples, and sign up for giveaways and door prizes with your purchase. Fresh cut trees, greenery, wreaths, porch pots, and more will fill the greenhouse. Bring your family and friends to enjoy the festivities. Miss M's is located on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. If you're living with a chronic condition like diabetes, chronic heart failure, or a cardiovascular disorder, you might count on extra support with your health care too. That's why United Healthcare offers chronic special needs plans with extra benefits and a large provider network to choose from. Visit uhc.com/Medicare to find out if you qualify today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Indiana can count on. Provider network may vary in local market.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I'll tell you what, Howard has been on hold for, right at an hour. Howard, you are a rock star. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to you, buddy. I was on a little bit of a rant, and
No
forgive
problem.
me for that. But thanks so much for your patience.
Yeah. There's been a bunch of internet blogs and stuff about the VA issuing carry permits for veterans. What do you know about that?
The VA?
Veteran Administration comes on. You have to take a little online quiz.
I think that's a scam, Howard. You know what?
Well, I thought so too. That's why I'm asking.
I will look into that, but I've not seen any such thing. And there is no federal gun permit, that I'm aware of, period. And what we're looking at with national reciprocity is requiring each state to recognize the license of every other state. Now, there is a little bit of precedent, and this is why this bears some investigation, Howard, and I'm glad you called, because I will look into this, hopefully here this week. But there is a little bit of precedent in that Congress passed the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, LEOSA, that allows law enforcement officers and some qualified retired law enforcement officers to be able to carry their gun state to state, irrespective of the laws of individual states to the contrary. Now, there have been officers who had a hard time with that. And there was a famous case in Illinois where Illinois basically said, we don't care what LEOSA says. We're going to prosecute officers for carrying guns into Illinois who aren't on duty in Illinois. But LEOSA's out there, but that was a federal statute, is a federal statute passed by Congress. And I don't know any authority for the Veterans Administration to have some regulation that allows veterans to carry state to state. I could be completely wrong. If anybody knows more about this than I do, because this may be news to me and I'm always willing to be educated, give me a call, join the discussion, 317-239-9393, or contact me again through the website, relfordlaw.com. If I'm wrong on this and I need to be educated, I'd love to know more, but I think it's a scam. One thing I will tell you for sure is there are these things. I see them all the time, and I always comment, and I'm sure my comments get deleted more often than not. But I always come these things on social media that says, get a 50-state license to carry, just apply here. And then they always imply there's some limited window. Limited time only, you can still get a license. Or even specific to Indiana, get your Indiana license. And you go there, you take some quiz, which basically is just the questions that are on the Indiana State Police website for whether you're eligible to get a license or not. And then they say, congratulations, just go here now and apply. Then they charge you a fee. They make it look like if you pay these fraudsters some money, that boom, they send you a license. They can't send you an Indiana license to carry a handgun. Only the state police can do that. And they only do that once you apply for a license on the state police website. And so the whole idea that these scam organizations are out there, or some of them, they are offering classes. Come take your concealed carry license class and get your Indiana license. Well, first of all, no class is required for an Indiana license to carry a handgun. They're charging you a fee for this. And you still have to go through the same licensing process that you had to go through anyway to get your Indiana license to carry a handgun. So it's a complete and utter scam. I always comment on them, and for that reason, I'm glad Howard even raised this VA issue, which is complete news to me, if it exists, which I doubt, but I don't know for certain. That's why I'm going to look into it. But Howard, thanks for calling. Let's go back to the phone lines here real quick, and let's see. Mike has called. Well, hold on. You want to talk about atomic bombs in garages?
Well, yeah. Why can't I build an atomic bomb in my garage? I mean, Second Amendment says I can have anything, right?
Yeah, well, the founders would probably say you could. If the government has it, then you absolutely can. Should there be any exceptions for that? We can talk about that. But in terms of basic firearms, Mike, like the kind of rifle, pistol, or shotgun I can own, that should be somehow different from the military. That's completely ludicrous, and you know that. You want to call me with an absurd example like atomic bombs, well, okay, you're not really making a point. You're just making yourself look a little silly. The idea that if it's a quote-unquote weapons of war as a portable gun, then that should somehow be restricted from private ownership is completely ludicrous. And by the way, the Supreme Court has already dealt with your silly example of atomic bombs in garages, which is that if it's commonly used for self-defense in America, it's covered by the Second Amendment. Now, the founders didn't put any restriction like that in the Second Amendment, but the Supreme Court has said commonly used for lawful purposes. I don't think atomic bombs are commonly used for lawful purposes, so the Supreme Court would say that's not covered. Or short-barreled shotgun, short-barreled rifles and suppressors commonly used for lawful purposes? Hell yeah. Hell, I pretty much qualify for that in and of myself. Look at my gun safe. Number of SBRs and suppressors. Commonly used for lawful purposes, 100%. So silly example, and that's a great example of someone who's just trying to make a silly point at the expense of logic. I'll tell you what, let's leave it there and take a break. We'll come back. We'll go to my last topic, which is a really interesting, tragic, because it ended up with the death of a private citizen in Lafayette. I want to talk a little bit about a police action shooting that Angela Ganote from Fox 59. I'll tell you what, if there's a local TV journalist that I respect, it's Angela Ganote from Fox 59. She just does a great job. She has all the credibility in the world. She works hard, and I think does a really nice job. And I'm a big fan of hers. But she posted about this police action shooting, and it just raised an interesting legal issue that I wanted to address here briefly on the show. We'll do that when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
The Affordable Care Act is not affordable, and the people who claim it's affordable now tell you that we have to pay subsidies in order to make it affordable for the people. Now, there was some talk that Democrats were going to try and engage some level of delay, air traffic controllers not getting paid, military not getting paid, and children starving in order to get their political way. And they think that that's progress. Children were going hungry, I was told.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
We know that around the holidays, things don't always go as planned. That's why Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. So make memories this season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Over 2,000 to choose from. And buy with zero down. Yes, zero down delivers. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Plus, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. No matter where your plans take you, spread cheer all season long, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Happy holidays, Indiana. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations. Select models, approved credit, warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Listen up, football fans. You won't want to miss this.
Right now, new Bet365 customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. So you could turn that $150 into something bigger when you bet on money line, spread, totals, player props.
$150 in bonus bets when new customers bet $5. I know where I'm going to bet from now on. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Indiana. T&Cs apply. In-app only.
Another accident? What happened?
Our truck driver got cut off, and they're getting blamed. No witnesses, no proof, and insurance is skyrocketing.
Wait, our drivers shouldn't take the blame for this?
Exactly why we need Samsara. Their AI dashcam show real-time video proving when our drivers aren't at fault.
So we protect our drivers and avoid false claims?
Yep. Companies using Samsara have exonerated their drivers and saved millions on insurance.
Protect your drivers and your bottom line at Samsara.com. Samsara. Operates smarter.
Remember lining up before dawn on Black Friday? Those days might be gone, but the excitement isn't. Great Lakes Honda of Fishers is keeping Black Friday alive all month long and kicking off Happy Honda Days. This month only, lease a 2026 CR-V LX all-wheel drive for $359 a month for 39 months with zero down and registered to win a Yeti cooler. Visit Great Lakes Honda of Fishers off State Road 37 today. Tax not included with approved credit through Honda Financial. In-stock new Hondas only, not combinable with other offers. $10K a year. All fees and first payment due at signing. Offer ends November 30th. See dealer for details.
Join us for Downtown Indy Alliance's 63rd Annual Circle of Lights, presented by IBEW Local 481, Friday, November 28th, with live entertainment featuring acts from ISO's Yuletide celebration, the Indianapolis Children's Choir, and Clayton Anderson. Go to downtownindy.org/holidays.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for the last segment here of this week's The Gun Guy Show. Interesting, tragic, but legally interesting, a police action shooting last night, or I guess night before last, in Lafayette. And listen, all we have is what's being reported by the Lafayette Police Department. But again, this was posted by Angela Ganote, who, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of. But Lafayette Police Department officers, a little after midnight, pulled over a vehicle on suspicion of impaired driving. And after the driver was pulled over, the male driver, apparently made statements indicating a risk of harm to himself, quote unquote, as reported by the officers, and then fled the scene. And LPD policy apparently didn't allow them to initiate a vehicle pursuit at that point. They pretty much let him go without engaging in any kind of a quote-unquote high-speed chase. But it continued looking for him, and eventually they found him in an apartment complex, parked. They again approached the vehicle, and at this point, he refused to get out of the vehicle, and made comments that he was armed with a weapon. And at that point, upon saying he had a gun, quote, moved his hand to his waistband behind his back as if he was preparing to brandish a weapon. So he said, I have a gun, and then moved his hand to his waistband behind his back while sitting in the vehicle. Now, this is all according to police. And as my friend Kirk, who practices law in Lafayette and has a lot of interactions with LPD, has said that he really wants to see the body-worn camera coming out of this. But let's just, for the sake of discussion, say that's all true. So he said he had a weapon, then reached behind his back, at which point officers opened fire. In fact, I saw a video that a friend of mine sent to me that didn't show much visually, but you could hear several gunshots. I mean, they apparently shot this guy several times, which is not unusual for police action shootings. Police are trained to stop a threat. And a discussion then on social media, especially after I reposted this, broke out on social media where people were talking about, well, it'll be really interesting to see whether he actually had a gun or not. And people were saying, or at least suggesting, that whether he had a gun or not would determine whether or not this was a justified use of force in self-defense. Now, listen, when it comes to police action shootings, there's a whole added element that doesn't apply to us as civilians. There are civil rights issues, in fact, civil rights criminal violations that can apply to police officers, which is someone acting under color of state law who deprives someone of their constitutional rights. And you can deprive someone of their constitutional rights by shooting them or otherwise using excessive force on them. But secondly, there's simply prosecution under state law for killing someone, which could be a murder, it could be a voluntary manslaughter, it could be any number of different charges, unless it's justified. So let's just stay with state law and justification based on self-defense. And a lot of people on my social media post, I think this one was on X, were discussing whether or not, and this actually may have been an Andrew Ganot's post now that I think about it, we're discussing whether or not this was justified. It was going to be determined to a significant degree by whether the guy really had a gun or not. He said he had a gun, and he reached to his waistband behind his back, at which point the officers opened fire. And I immediately made the point that whether he actually had a gun or not is not even relevant to the inquiry. And people found that really surprising, and some people found that repugnant. Well, what do you mean? If he didn't really have a gun, he was never a risk. He was never a danger to the officer. And if he was never an actual danger to the officer, then the use of force was not justified in self-defense. And it just made me realize that this is another example of where people really don't understand the law of self-defense as it operates in Indiana. Because, again, talking only about self-defense and legal justification of the law of self-defense in Indiana, whether you're talking about the general self-defense statute that applies to you no matter where you might be, including out in public, and would apply to this officer being out in public, or whether you're talking about the Castle Doctrine that applies to you when you're in your home, your dwelling, as well as your curtilage or occupied motor vehicle. Whichever scenario you're talking about, whether you're justified or not depends on whether you had a reasonable belief the deadly force was necessary under the circumstances that are justified in each of those different scenarios. Out in public, you have to reasonably believe the deadly force is necessary to prevent serious bodily injury to you or a third person. Reasonably believe. You don't have to be right. The statute doesn't put on anyone the obligation of being omniscient. And the law, and through case law and the wording of the statute itself, specifically prohibits evaluating someone's reasonable belief and the use of force based on that reasonable belief. It particularly precludes the opportunity to use hindsight to attack someone's decision. Well, hold on. he said he had a gun, and he reached behind himself into his waistband to grab a gun. You then defended yourself, but he didn't actually have a gun. Based on hindsight, there was never a risk to begin with, therefore you were not justified. No, and no. The law says you simply have to have a reasonable belief. There are cases that say specifically, I talk about this in my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class. You can be wrong. The person who points the airsoft gun at an officer doesn't have an orange tip. It looks exactly like a real gun. Turns out to be an airsoft gun after the fact. Does that mean the officer was not justified in using force? No. It's based on a reasonable belief. That's how the law works. That's how it should work. And people need to understand that. I'll tell you what, we're coming up on the top of the hour. That's it for this week's edition of the Gun Guy Show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back. Remember, always be safe. Always shoot straight. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
A new team, a new energy in Bloomington.
You're going to see a bunch of guys that are all about winning. They play incredibly hard.
Coach Darren DeVries is ready to write the next chapter in Hoosier basketball.
We love what I think the fans are going to be able to see in terms of how we approach every game.
IU basketball is back. Up next, Kansas State. Tuesday at 8 on the home of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC.
Black Friday deals are happening all month long at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. You can lease a new Ford Escape or a Bronco Sport for just $339 a month. Plus, you could save over $13,000 on a new Ford F-150. You always get more with Andy Moore's Get More Guarantee. More savings, more selection, and more for your trade. Buy your vehicle 100% online. It is so easy to do at AndyMooreFord.com, and Andy Moore will deliver it right to your door. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield is the place for your car, truck, and SUV. And if you've got a business, Andy Moore Ford is the place for your commercial vehicle. Not only to get your new medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks, but their service bays can handle vehicles up to 35,000 pounds. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield for all the Black Friday deals. Check them out, 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore Ford. That's Andy Moore, M-O-H-R. I love Andy. AndyMooreFord.com.
Football is back, and so are great hairlines. We Grow Hair Indy has helped former local professional football players get back in the game with full natural hair. You don't have to play pro ball to get pro-level results. Hey, it's Rob, and I knew I picked the right team when I needed a Hail Mary for my hair. I called We Grow Hair Indy. Whether you're tailgating, coaching, or watching from the couch, do it with confidence. Trade the sidelines for a hairline. Get back in the game at We Grow Hair Indy. Schedule your free evaluation today at WeGrowHairIndy.com. That's WeGrowHairIndy.com, or call 317-522-2995. That's 317-522-2995. Enjoy being out and about this fall. Enjoy watching the games in person with your friends with confidence you haven't had in years. And you can do it with a trip to We Grow Hair Indy. 317-522-2995. 317-522-2995. Tell them Rob sent you.
The biggest Black Friday sale ever is going on now at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Save up to $800 on top brand mattresses from Tempur-Pedic, Stearns & Foster, and Sealy. Indiana-made Smith Brothers of Bern is holding their factory-authorized sale with the lowest price in 2025 and 50% off all Flex Deal and Lazy Boy. Free delivery, cash discounts, interest-free financing. Hurry, sale ends Monday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT. Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Trump gives Ukraine a Thanksgiving deadline. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. The president tells Ukraine it must agree to his peace plan to end the war by then, or that Ukraine will fight on without U.S. support. Meantime, officials from Ukraine, the U.S., and several European countries will meet in Geneva tomorrow.
The president has been frustrated with the course of this war, but there has been bipartisan concern regarding the terms of this plan. European leaders met on the sidelines of the G20 summit, and they released a statement saying that the draft needs additional work. They say we are clear on the principle that borders must not be changed by force. We are also concerned by the proposed limitations on Ukraine's armed forces, which would leave Ukraine vulnerable to a future attack. High-level negotiations regarding next steps are happening in Geneva this weekend. A U.S. official telling Fox Army Secretary Dan Driscoll and his team are now in Switzerland for these talks. The Ukrainians are heading there tonight. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are set to arrive tomorrow.
Fox's Madeline Rivera at the White House. President Trump reacts to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's decision to resign after their falling out.
I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived the primary. But I think she's a nice person.
Taylor Greene says her last day will be January 5th. One thing she's disappointed about, the president and fellow Republican lawmakers refuse to help Americans pay for health care.
During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass the plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies.
And this could be the